So a couple days ago, maybe 2 days ago, a video went viral from a young man, 22 years old, named William McNeil. And he's in Jacksonville, Florida. And the video shows him being pulled over by police, and it turns violent. This is not new to us. This is something we've seen a lot. In fact, depending on who you ask, people will say, this was a common theme during election cycle to get people riled up. We've watched a lot of these videos, and I think there's always going to be a debate about, was this violent or not? Was this police brutality or not? What was it? I wasn't even going to do a video earlier today. I got one later scheduled, but I just saw this and I thought I wanted to talk about it. So let's watch first the actual footage from William McNeil's cam. Let me just give you some background context. He released a video of the incident from his camera angle. And then as a result of that, Jacksonville police released a video, 3 different videos from their perspective of the body cam footage. We're not going to watch the whole video. It's a story that's been out for 2 days. You can watch it, but we're going to watch a little bit of the video from William McNeil's cam. We're going to watch briefly some of the press conference of police. And then I just thought I'd like to offer some perspective because I feel like there's a deeper issue that we keep ignoring. There's a deeper issue, and there's a deeper issue that I need to talk about to the Black community, and there's a deeper issue to the police, law enforcement community. But first, let's watch this real quick. Let's look at this video and see what happens.
Stop now. All right. No.
Can you put that law
Yeah,
up?
when you step out of the car, I will.
Can you call your supervisor? Can you call your supervisor?
All right, go for it.
Exit the vehicle now. Exit the vehicle. Show me your hand.
Is there a reason that you're pulling me over?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a reason why I'm pulling you over. For one thing, inclement weather, you don't have your lights on. 2 things, you're not wearing your seatbelt.
It's daylight. I don't need the lights. And it's not weather. It's not rain. Step out. What is your reason? Step out now.
Put your hands behind your back. Resist. Hands behind your back.
These administrative reviews are ongoing, but the state attorney's office has determined that none of the involved officers violated criminal law.
Show me your hands.
Here.
Everybody's flipping out about the video. And depending on who you are, some are going to say police brutality. Some are going to say he was in his rights. All right. Let's talk through this for a second. Let's talk through this. So real quick context. There's about 6 minutes of the officer who initially pulled him over, his camera. And the officer does say the door's open, which we saw briefly. McNeil asks, why am I being pulled over? And he says, you don't have your lights on in inclement weather. And he says, it's daytime. I don't need to have my lights on. And police officer says, well, yes, you do. And then it escalates, and he ends up closing his door when he asks him to step out. Well, he asks him, can you show me the law? And he says, I'll show it to you when we step out of the car. So McNeil closes the car door, right? And then it goes back and forth. You can't really hear everything unless you look at the video cam from the inside. Other officers pull up. One officer eventually, it goes from, all right, you're resisting arrest by not getting out of the vehicle. So the officer did ask him to get out. McNeil said he didn't say get out. He did say that. The officer did say that. And the officer was calm. To be honest, the officer was calm. And as the other officers were coming up, he was talking. He was like, sir, I need you to get out. He wasn't violent. He wasn't saying anything. The officer was calm. When there were a few officers in, came up, you had one guy break the window, and that's where we saw the punch come through the window. And then he still remains calm. All right, he still remains calm. He says, show me your hands. McNeil puts his hands up, and then he folds them, and then they take him out and all of that, right? Let me say a couple things. First of all, let me say this. There's a difference between watching this video as a believer and being a believer in the midst of it. All right. So even though commentary could almost overlap, there's a difference between watching this as a believer and how I would respond as a believer in the midst of this situation. But I want to go right to the heart of the problem. There's a deeper issue that we keep ignoring. And as long as we keep ignoring this issue, stuff like this is going to continue to happen. It's going to continue to happen. So I'm speaking as a Christian, full context. I'm an ex-street dude from the DC, Maryland streets. I did drugs, guns. I've been locked up. I did all of this stuff. I had issues with police, all of it. Now, as a believer, as a pastor, I remember all those things. I have police officers in my church. I love these men. I love these men. I don't love all law enforcement in the general sense. Yeah, you love your neighbor, right? But I love these men. I understand the struggle. When they were going through things during the last 5 years, there were times we had them come on stage and talk about their experiences, all of it. So what I'm about to say is I'm not leaning in a direction. I'm just going to be honest about the deeper issue that we keep ignoring. First, for Black people, here's a deeper issue we keep ignoring. We have to be honest and say that it is embedded within aspects of our culture. It is embedded to have a disdain for law enforcement and authority. And I think we just have to be honest and say we are bitter, we're resentful, and we're antagonistic against authority. We just are, and especially law enforcement and especially white police officers. I don't know what would have happened if McNeil would have gotten out of the car or complied, as the sheriff said, or I think it was the sheriff, would have complied if he would have done it. I don't know. Everyone will speculate about what would have happened. There are times people comply and they still get beat down, or sometimes worse. But here's the reality, though. We got to be honest about this propensity to escalate towards authority. And it's that way in general. And I'm saying this, it's deeper than being black. It's deeper than being from the hood. It's deeper than being a white, and it's deeper than all this stuff, right? Ephesians 6 tells us we do not wrestle with flesh and blood. So there's a spiritual warfare happening. And I truly believe that one of the things that the enemy has done is he's targeted aspects of Black community. He's singled in on the fact that we have a history with law enforcement, that we do not trust law enforcement. We don't like law enforcement. And the minute we get pulled over, we are super suspicious, right? We are really suspicious for any reason that we get pulled over. And that's just the reality. That's just the reality. This is the reality. And we have to understand that. There are law enforcement officers that are horrible, 100%, but there are some that are not. And you really don't know who's pulling you over when something happens, right? You just don't know. And I think we have to be honest about this and realize, hey, on one side, we just have a propensity towards authority, particularly law enforcement authority. We just have that. And it makes sense, right? Let me tell you why it makes sense. One, beginning with Genesis 3, Adam and Eve bring sin into the world, and so you start with, we have inherited a disdain for the authority that God gives us, right? It's just we have our own level of morality and righteousness. Then you have such a history in America of mistreatment towards Black people just for being Black from law enforcement. You got vagrancy laws of the early 20th century. You got police brutality. I mean, it was legal in America until 60 years ago to treat Black people as if they're not human beings. We get that. The enemy has exploited that completely. You get misrepresentation within the culture. When laws get passed, like Brown versus the Board of Education, landmark decision in 1956, but all that happened was you took some Black kids and let them go to white schools. You didn't make white kids go to Black schools. You didn't make white teachers go to black schools. You let some Black students go to white schools, and you let white people start private and charter schools that didn't want to integrate. There's always some, right? There's a history. I totally get it. I get that we grow up, and then in the 70s, you get the blaxploitation films, and those are the first movies that represent from the Black perspective the way they feel about law enforcement. You get, and in those movies, those heroes are the gangsters, the street dealers, the pimps, the hustlers. I totally get it. And then from that, rap music comes out of that and becomes the lyrical progression, the lyrical narrative of Black people's mistrust. I mean, one of the most popular foundational rap songs is The Message. Grandmaster Flash, Broken Glass, everywhere. People peeing on the corner like they just don't care. And in the video at the end, you see police pull up on the corner and arrest these dudes. This is, in many ways, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with Candace Owens or not, whether it happened to you or not, this is in the psyche of Black America, and Satan has used it wonderfully. I get it. I've been through it. I've been slammed on cars. I get it. I've had guns pulled out on me by police, and you don't know what this is. I get it. But we have to be aware that we oftentimes can escalate a situation because we are antagonistic towards authority, and we agree with that antagonism because of our history. I get it. In the same way that many of us will use the N-word and don't think it's a big deal, and some of us think it's a big deal, we kind of justify an antagonism and a resistance towards law enforcement regardless. I get it, 100%. We have to be honest and be like, that sometimes fuels the narrative. We have to do something about that. We have to at least speak to that reality. We can't ignore that side of it. Having said that, for police, and I'm sure this will lose me some subscribers because I started with Black people first, and people will get offended because they're easily offended. And I get it. For police, I really think there's a deeper issue that you just don't get it. So let's start with this. One, police officers, it's not just resisting arrest. Police officers get extremely offended when you're not perfectly compliant. They get extremely offended. That's not supposed to happen, fam. You're a police officer. You have a gun in your possession. Every time you pull someone over, you have a gun you have a deadly weapon in your possession, whether that person does or not. And there are times that deadly weapon has been used inappropriately. And once it's used inappropriately, it's the end for that person and that person's family. Let's not play around here. It's not just about your safety, officer, that people care about. You are the police officer. And you knew when you took this position that this is what you were supposed to do. It wasn't like you did not learn in basic training, in boot camp. It's not like you didn't learn the challenges of being a police officer. You signed up for people aggressive. You signed up. And in this day and age, there's no way you can be an officer and not anticipate people's aggression towards you. Police officers, you get so offended when someone doesn't perfectly comply. That dude sat there like this, didn't even look at you, didn't move, didn't do nothing. You knew your life wasn't in danger. When they punched McNeil in his face, that was unnecessary. And then when they pulled him out of the car, then they punched him again, slammed him on the ground, and you got 4 officers forcing you, putting pressure on your body, your arms are behind your back, your face is being smushed into the concrete, and they're telling you to stop resisting. It is impossible for people to not resist. You can't go to the dentist and not resist the pain because it's natural to resist the pain that you're experiencing. You ever get inside a hot car with leather in it and you sit there like, you jump right off, right? It's the way God created you. I think police officers are very unrealistic. Number one, you get offended, and that should be wrong. That should be wrong. Just because someone didn't listen to you, you don't get in any other situation. That's wrong. If I get offended at the person at the drive-thru who gets my order wrong and is smart with me, and I hit him, that's called assault. But it's not assault when police officers do that at times. It's always, well, we got to look into it. Second thing, I think police have to be, this is the deeper issue. Let's just be clear, right? Here's the reality. Let's look at some stats here. Let's go to the stats. Police misconduct and complaints and repercussions in Jacksonville, Florida, the last 10 years. Over the last decade, thousands of civilian complaints have been filed against the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, JSO, for alleged police misconduct. For example, between 2017 and 2022 alone, there were 5,510 civilian complaints recorded. The investigation process allows citizens to show complaint. Look at this. From 2017 to 2022, 5 years, 7% of civilian complaints in Jacksonville were ruled in favor of the civilians. Disciplinary actions for JSO employees during this time period included written reprimands, level 1 or 2, suspension or demotion, and termination. Between July 2015 and May 2022, 74 Jacksonville State officers, employees were suspended or demoted for misconduct, and 176 were either terminated or resigned while under investigation. Out of 7% of civilian complaints. Here's what police officers don't seem to understand. I don't think you understand this. Black people don't trust there's been, even today, after Jim Crow, after let's wait for the facts, that you can file a complaint and it doesn't get anything. And the reason why is because police officers have their own Bill of Rights. And the people who will investigate the officer's conduct are former police officers, former captains of the law force, former judges, people who work in law enforcement. It's just not objective. It's like asking the Black people, his family, to be objective when they watch the video. It's unrealistic. I think the deeper issue we're ignoring, and I think law enforcement is ignoring the fact that because they have a badge, many of them feel like they're obligated, they're allowed to act outside of the code of conduct. In fact, I know officers who have told me that in their training, they were given videos, and most of the videos and the people that they were having to fight back against were against young Black teens. This is what I was told by other officers. So, and I think this too. Lastly, for police officers, I'm sorry, but just because you're law enforcement, we don't think you're sinless. Like, you're not sinless. We go to Romans 3, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. You're not sinless. I have friends who are police officers that have confessed sinning against people and had to really go after it because that badge gives you a sense of authority. And some of the people who become law enforcement, they're not ready for it. Some of those psychological evals, they're not that strong. You get people get a lot of issues, and now you give them a badge and a gun and say, hey, we've heard multiple stories about this over the last 10 years, which I'm not going to get into all of that. My point is that sometimes police act as if we should see them as sinless. We just do not. We do not. You're sinful, and you've taken people's lives unnecessarily. Have police been killed? 100%. 100%. But that's just the world we live in. Black people, we just have a propensity to be antagonistic, and a lot of times that does escalate situations where it doesn't need to be. I'm a big black dude. I get pulled over. I'm gonna end with this. In March, it was early April. Me and my sons were on vacation for a week. We're at a beach house. A buddy of mine, good dude, lets me use his beach house down in Duck, North Carolina, right in the Outer Banks. We were driving. We were going to get food. We were coming back on this road. It was a 2-lane road, one way this way, one way that way. And it had this little flashing like odometer, like, oh, you're going too fast. I think it was a 35 and I was going 46. So it was flashing, you're over 10 miles per hour. So I start slowing down because I see it. Shortly after I slowed down, we pass a fire department and I see 2 officers in the car. One's getting in the car and we just drove past them. And I was like, oh man, I bet you they're gonna. So I look in my rearview mirror and they pull out and they get behind us. They speed up and they flash me. And I'm like, man, I got my 3 sons in the car. My sons are 17, 16, and 13. They're in the car. I'm sitting here like, okay, what's going on? And I'm thinking to myself, my boys are here. I want to be as calm as possible. I roll both windows down to comply because officers, they come one side, driver's side, passenger side. I rolled both windows down. The officer already on my driver's side coming to me, he looks and he's clearly afraid. So now I'm concerned because here's what happens. Police have the luxury of saying, I fear for my safety. And many men have been shot and killed because they fear for their safety. And I'm not saying they didn't. But when William McNeil closed the door and said, can you call your supervisor? Because he honestly didn't feel safe, that doesn't matter. And that's the problem with law enforcement. You don't get it. It's not just your safety that matters. It's the people that you pull over. I didn't want to pull over because it was getting dark and it was a bit, and I'm in North Carolina. That's the South to me. I don't know how they're going to react. I'm a big black man. They could say, I fear for my safety, and they'll show a mugshot of me on national media without me smiling. And people will look like, yep, that dude looks like a killer. They won't say I had 3 boys in the back, that my boys love me and I love them. They won't say that, oh, he's been a faithful pastor for 17 years. They won't say that stuff. They're going to highlight my mugshot. They're going to highlight the fact that I had charges in 1998, gun charges and all that stuff. And they're going to bring that up and make it seem like the police were justified. That's what happens. We know the narrative. So we're not comfortable. We don't feel safe. William McNeil said he didn't feel safe. Officers could be like, all right, let's get other officers around and let's make sure you feel safe. Listen, there's no regard for that. But when officers feel safe, they can pull their gun and shoot, right? And then it's justified because he felt. That's not how it works, man. You can't do that. In no other situation except when there's a home invasion can you really do that and get away with it for the most part. So the officer comes up and I'm like, oh man, this dude's afraid. So I'm like, officer, can I help you? He was like, yeah, license registration. I said, sure, but why'd you pull me over? I'm looking at him like this, like, I'm trying to be as non-threatening as possible. Why'd you pull me over? He said, because you were going 50 into 35. And I said, are you sure, officer? Because I passed a sign and flag that said 46, and then I'd slowed down by the time I drove past you. And he said, well, can I see your license registration? The other officer didn't even fully come up. So I was like, man, this could be bad. So I'm sitting here thinking, but I was upset because I was one, this is not true. This is not true. I wasn't going, I just passed the flashing thing. But here I'm thinking to myself, my boys are in the car. I don't want to dishonor the Lord. My boys are in the car and I don't want, so here's what I did. I said to my 13-year-old, I said, hey, I said, do me a favor, turn your camera on, all right? Turn your camera on your phone and just place it right up here and just record. And I said, that's all I want you to do. Don't lean forward. Just put your camera up here and just want you to record. That's it. And so we record the exchange. I was going to push back against the officer, but I said, you know what? I'm not going to. I'm not even going to. Because what's more important, I'm going to comply. I disagree. I'm going to comply. But what's more important is I understand my natural propensity is to be angry at that, but I'm not going to put myself in a situation, especially with my 3 boys in the car. Now, I'm not saying everybody's me. I'm not saying William McNeil was wrong in everything he did. What I'm saying is there are deeper issues are going on here, and we keep ignoring them. And I've said them. I'm not going to repeat them again. You do what you want with this. Real video coming at 7 p.m. tonight. Crazy video about the guy who killed 4 people in Idaho. We need to talk about that. See you when I see you.